Well, hello. Hashtag here. I'm going to talk about overtraining and poor choice in sessions. Ultimately, it will point you towards me because I'm a coach and uh, kind of I'm going to make sure that you don't do that. Now, I've talked about this before. I've talked about zone two training in the wintertime, having a good base to build up that mitochondria, the power cells in your bloodstream and in your muscles, so that when you do the hard stuff, you can depend on the mitochondria. If you go too hard, too early, what you do is you burn off more mitochondria than you actually build, and you end up having no mitochondria when you want to do the hard stuff, i.e., in the races. So we need to be cautious on what we do. Had an athlete recently where when they get to races, their efficiency factor is kind of dropping. And this is the awkward spiral that a lot of athletes will find themselves in. They feel like they're getting slower when they need to be getting faster in the races. So what they do, the automatic response to that is, well, I need to train harder. What they do then is they go out and they train harder and they become more fatigued. And in turn, when they get to their racing, they get slower. And they think to themselves after the race, I need to train harder. And they go out and train hard. Anyway, you get the idea that basically they just go into that cyclical thing. And before they know it, they've given up the sport or given up the season. Called it off completely. The bikes go on eBay. The trainers get given to friends. Swim kit just gathers dust upstairs in the spare room. You kind of get the idea. They get very disillusioned about the sport. And it's generally because they jump into that zone 3. Now, call zone 3 because it's that no man's land. There are benefits to actually going into zone 3 training or heart rate zone 3 training. If you don't know what that is, please message me and I will explain on a separate point. But basically, zone 2 or LT1 is where you should be spending a lot of your time. And that can be as low as 60% of your threshold. Okay, if we're using power meters, that's quite a low one. And I can see lots of cyclists, well, I can probably hear lots of cyclists right now going, well, that's way too low. And that's the problem. You go out with your friends on a Sunday, you thrash it around the lanes, and you're thinking, and you get to a point where you're extremely fit for thrashing around with your mates on a Sunday morning. But you won't get any fitter. And the reason being is because you're so fatigued and you've burnt off all that mitochondria, because it's like a mini race, let's face it. And you wonder why midweek or the following weekend when you've got an important event, you've got no legs. And that's why sometimes you need to hold it back. Maybe look quite weak, I suppose, on a club ride. If that's what you want to do, sit at the back a little bit more. Try and keep your power zones or your threshold or your heart rate down to as low as you can in that range, into LT1 range or that zone 2 range, and build up those mitochondria. Okay, to kind of give you some kind of example, I'm just going to be, it's anecdotal, but it's one of my athletes where they spent 3 months solid LT1 training, solid. They did not deviate, and basically they came out of their winter period or their base period, and then we started adding in a slightly higher intensity, and we built it again, more intensity, and then now where they're racing through the season, they are picking up points every race they're racing. They are podium winning. They are very rarely out of the top 5 in every race they do. As far as time trials are concerned, and in road races, they're definitely in the top 10 every time they race, and they're going to go up a category hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And that's down to actually holding it back and keeping it steady on those steady rides. Okay, that's zone 2 for you. Zone 3, like I said, is a no man's land. There are some benefits to it. Like if you're going to go out with your mates and go out for a thrash, just treat it as that. But understand that that will actually have implications in the next 48, 72 hours on whatever riding you're going to do or whatever racing you're going to do, and you need to have adequate rest. I do find a lot of my time when it comes to cycling specifically that I am telling a lot of riders to slow down or have a day off, where they think that they need to be riding more and getting fitter, which is not what will happen in the long run. There are too many programs out there online. AI seems to do it as well, where you do a 6-week program and you'll get fitter. Men's Health, I mean, it does it all the time. You'll do this and you'll see your 6-pack in 6 weeks. You'll gain weight in 6 weeks. You'll show muscle in 6 weeks. But what about afterwards? Can you sustain it? And unfortunately, I think the question for that, the answer to that is no, you can't. Okay, so unless your season is only 6 weeks long, I suggest that we incorporate a lot of zone 2 training. That's about it. Overtraining. Just a quick side note on triathlon. What most people do when they embark on triathlon, if they came from a cycling background or a swimming background or a running background, is they understand that a lot of their sessions were hard, like hill reps with running, always going out on a club run, which is fast. And cycling's just the same. There's usually a time trial during the week, and they go out on a club run, and it ends up like an absolute smash fest in the last 10 miles to get to the cafe quicker than everybody else. And swimming is generally, if you're in a swim training environment, you're always racing with other people in the water. And then from those 3 disciplines, if you were doing a single discipline, you're adding them all together and you're thinking, how can I be a triathlete? I know I'm going to do the fast swim, I'm going to do the fast bike, and I'm going to do the fast run, and I'm going to do that 2 or 3 times a week. And before you know it, you're doing interval sessions 8 to 10 times a week. And those mitochondria that I said at the beginning, you're basically going to scrape the barrel within about 4 to 6 weeks, and you're going to be toast. And always remembering that bike fitness will always transfer to a degree to run fitness or swim fitness. And if you're a fairly fit swimmer, you can transfer it over from an aerobic perspective to cycling and running as well. They are transferable. You do not need to do hard runs, hard bikes and hard swims all day long, because you will be overtrained. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I come in, because I work it all out for you. I understand that you can integrate those 3 disciplines together, and you can be a better triathlete you are not a runner, you are not a swimmer, you are not a cyclist, you are a triathlete. And that's where the science kind of works. I use my knowledge, my qualifications, and my experience to understand that I can add all 3 sessions in a week. I can work around your work-life balance, your family, your stresses, last minute hiccups where life just, as Baz Luhrmann would say, blindside you on an idle Tuesday. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, okay, you get the idea. Overtraining, not a good thing. Go steady. Okay, let's crack on. See you later.